That was a loaded question. I heard a lot of it, and then I had to step out because I might have had a healthcare issue just now. But anyways, for the fruit and vegetables and in the community, I agree that we need to make sure that there's things in place to make sure that food is being grown naturally, so there's not a bunch of chemicals being used to fast track. We need to be doing this within the community with the community gardens, so that, and then opening up local community stores within the community where basically an economic development cycle is happening within our community. As for the healthcare system, definitely we have an aging population. In Preston, our seniors are probably, I think it's, when you look at the platform and you get the numbers, I think it's like 30% maybe higher than the rest of the province in the Preston alone area with seniors. So, and I know in our community, a big thing for seniors is being able to, those last years, to be able to do it in your own home and not in a long-term care facility where your family gotta come in to see you. So it's putting programs in that will help support the infrastructure of the home so that you can make the doors bigger for a wheelchair, you make the ramps there, but it has to be sustainable. I'm gonna segue to the health system. I got to experience it this past March. And I see the strength, the way it's strained. I see that if it was not for me and my sister to basically and have the careers and be in a position that we are, to be able to show up and be there for my mother and support the hospital staff every day. But I seen where there weren't people there. We had an elder from our community that the family is not in the position that we are, so they didn't have somebody there with them all the time. But this is an elder, a leader, someone I looked up to. Someone who I looked up to as a kid. And to see him there and know that he has a loving family, but just they're not in a position to support, in the healthcare system, not in a position to support him, where he has to be at a hospital where he can walk around, have memory here and there, he knew who I was, but then there's days where he just sits there. There's nobody there. The nurse person or healthcare seat, I'm not done. So the point of what I'm saying is, this stuff hits home. Personally, from my own experience, as well as experience of watching one of our elders in our community, and not see a person who is so strong, but yet so weak when he should be enjoying the last years surrounded by family. So the idea that I would be pushing is just have some long-term care facilities within the community so it's close to family, but also supporting programs so that families can do the infrastructure within their home to keep their family at home and be able to afford to do that.
I guess on these issues, I agree with a lot of the things that everybody says. Healthcare is a major issue in our community. We talked about it earlier, talked about it at length. There are numerous solutions to the problem, but I mean, we're not going to figure it out tonight. That's something we have to talk about, figure out for ourselves, and decide what's right for us. Because I think we're so caught up on what we can do now, we don't really think about if it's the right thing to do or not. In terms of food, our community used to be an industry when it comes to food. We used to sell our food. You know, not just eat it, we used to sell it. That's how we made our livings. That's how we made our money. And that is so powerful, and that's something we should have never given up. But we still have the land. We still have the know-how. There's no reason we can't turn ourselves into an industry again. One thing we know as Preston is we've always been trendsetters in what happens. Regardless of what it is we do or say, everybody pays attention to whatever it is. So we have the ability. Provincially, we have the money available, the funding, the grants, all of the things that are available. But again, Like Mr. Slaughter said, until we unite, none of this works. We can't have this for East Preston, and for North Preston, and for Cherrybrook Lake Loon, and for Lake Echo. Everybody can't have it individually, but everybody can have it together. Thank you.
Mr. Gray, I think I'd like to talk to you about the dump situation and the area out where the bakery was. You said it's starting to pile up like a basically it is actually side of the road dump right now. And I don't know if it's a business or what's going on there, but it's an eyesore. And with the dump that's happening in the back of Lake Echo, I've already wrote a letter on behalf of the residents and complained about that, and we can do the same thing in regards to that. I don't know if it's a property or what's going on there, but I know for a fact that if people work together to complain, it will get cleaned up. Because I had a rental property. I had one car on the property, and the neighbors were complaining that the tenant's car was sitting there with a flat tire. I got contacted that they would come and tow the car away and charge me. So if this man has those many vehicles, I'm out there all the time, but I never paid that much attention to it, but you live here. I know one thing, that they tried to start a business there, but the building was almost condemned, so they couldn't start the other business that was going on there. So how is he running a business there? So, I could get together with you when we're done here and get your information in
Mr.
on...
Simmons, we also looked at 1936 across the height from me. There's cars up there, there's junk being up there. Last week there was somebody burning up there, rubber, whatever. So we also looked at 1936, that was a residential home, and now it's a junkyard. That's been given permission, I was told by our counselor, I don't know if he's here tonight, but anyway, again, we're done by government. So a lot of this stuff is going on without us knowing about it. It's found was taken out of our community, and you see down here all the junk that's going on. Again, being done by our elected officials. 1936 I go to my house at night. I used to live in my 40-some years living in my house. And now I walk at night, I come home at night, I'm afraid there might be garbage burning that's coming into my space. So we need to clean that up.
So these things are being done without the consult of the community. They're just putting them there and expecting that it will be accepted.
And you see what happened in Hams Plains, so we don't want it to happen here.
Yeah, so on behalf of you guys, I'll write a letter.
Yep.
And we'll see how we can move from there, and I'll also copy you with the letter, and know that it was sent off, okay?
With regards to what's being said here. You know something? It's nice when we come to these forums, these candidate forums, and we discuss all of the issues and all of the problems. But in the meantime, what's happening? Do you know something? An elected official is only as good as the folks behind them. You have to make them work. They're there, they're elected, they're put there on your behalf. Your votes put them in. But if you're not going to say anything, if you're not going to keep them accountable, and when you come time to have an election and you say this is not done and that's not done, is that really fair to the elected officials? With regards to this area, I have looked at 4 key concerns and key issues. Of course, healthcare, that impacts us all. I think someone mentioned something about the need for a long-term care facility. Well, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, a long-term care facility was announced that's going on the Akuma property to be managed by Northwood. It's going to be a 96-bed facility, and it's for this particular area. We talk about sustainability. Well, what is collectively, as a community, we need to hear and know what your ideas are around sustainability. Okay, with regards to affordability, the same thing. You have a say in terms of what your elected officials do. Make your elected officials work for you by coming forward with your concerns, but not only with your concerns, but even with your ideas. I heard sorry, that's good, I'm glad you came out.
Okay, we only have the hall until 9:30, so we're just going to take maybe just one more question, and again, just 1 minute.
Can I ask a question?
I have to go on the list, I'm sorry. But don't forget, you can actually, please
Reach out and
encourage,
ask us.
yes, please ask your candidates. Their contact information is throughout the city, and you can find that.
Excuse me, I need to know what the 40-year plan is.
That's, you're next on the list. Terry Thomas,
I need to know
that's
what the
you.
40-year plan is. The HRM wants to destroy North Preston and East Preston. They want to plow into the church, and they want to turn us into Burnside. What are you guys going to do to stop that? They want to destroy the communities. David Henke asked him, he knows. I saw the plan. We had them elected here for what? It's nothing.
Let David answer that one.
You guys order, please, so that,
Somebody don't want to have a seat. Let the guys talk.
don't let,
That's okay, have a seat. Let them guys talk.
but you probably ask me to quiet, okay, thank you.
Everybody be quiet. Let them talk.
Mr. Thomas,
So wait.
thanks for the question. 40-year plan, I do not have. A 40-year plan has to come from us, not from HRM, not from the provincial government. It has to come from the community. Myself is ready to work with our community to create a plan that works for us and stop having people create plans for us. I want one that is for us, by us. And again, I'm running to be your elected official right now. I'm trying to appeal to you so that you can see you have a leader. All right? I'm not trying to appeal to you to say I have all the answers. All right? But like I said, for me, my focus is going to be bringing the riding together, black, white, everybody, from one end to the other, using my relationships in Lake Echo, North Preston, East Preston, Sherbrooke, Lake Loon. Even, I do have relationships over in Westfall that sometimes gets forgotten, but I have relationships over there. Bringing people together to create a collective association to represent them. Not the party.